Working parents are finding a silver lining in the COVID-19 pandemic. More employers are now adjusting their perspective and policies to make work culture more parent-friendly. Work culture expert Debbie Yadagari supports the working parenthood, and she's with us now to share her insights. Hi, Debbie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me this morning.
We appreciate you being here. Now, why did it take a pandemic for employers to really take a look at the work-life balance dynamic, especially when it comes to working parents?
That's a great question. For so long, we've been separating those two worlds, and we've expected our employees to come to work and check their parenting hat at the door. And in the era of remote learning and work from home, that's just no longer possible. We now see one another's children in the background of Zoom. We're experiencing it firsthand as both employees, coworkers, and team leaders. We can no longer unring that bell. There's no turning back. Now we know that, we've always known that work life and home life are integrated. And now more than ever, employers are seeing it too.
So Zoom, we all know that word for work. It's become the norm for so many people. Talk about the effect that that's having on corporate America and then its expectation of their employees.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking that. We are absolutely seeing more opportunities because of the remote workplace. We know that since the beginning of the pandemic, over 5 million working women have exited the workforce. And that has been because they've had to juggle, the workload with caring for their children and other outside responsibilities. But as we move forward, Zoom is going to open the door to allow many people to work in other states for companies that maybe beforehand they didn't have close proximity to. So I think going forward, we're going to have many opportunities, not just for working women, enabling them to get back into the workforce, but also for others, for college students who are graduating, for men who might want to give up the commute in exchange for something else. So it is absolutely changing the future of work.
That's a great point. I do think that the pandemic has opened up the possibilities, opened up the world in some ways, like you said, because geographically before maybe they didn't want to do a commute or it wasn't possible.
Right.
And then that stat you gave about the number of women who left the workplace, that's amazing. That is such a big number. And working women have always felt that extra pressure regardless of if it was in person or now remotely. What are 3 things that a parent should look for if they're looking for work with a new employer?
They should look for workplace culture. They need to know before they take on the job whether this is going to be an employer that is going to support their home life and work life. And how are they going to do that? They can look for cultural indicators such as support systems. What are the benefits? Are there employee resource groups? Are there outside providers such as Village that assist working parents in meeting their personal and professional needs? What can they look to as tangible proof that an employer cares? They should absolutely network. They can, look at LinkedIn, connect with old employees or, ex-employees of a company. They can talk to current employees. We have to remember that when we're interviewing for a company, it's not just about selling ourselves to them. The company also has to sell themselves to us. And we need to use this as an opportunity to really dig in before we commit and say yes. And absolutely, talk about the opportunities, during the interview process, during the connections that you're going to have with your supervisors and oftentimes others who, that extend out within that department. When you meet with HR or perhaps your supervisors, talk about what kinds of opportunities this role could grow into. Is it a type of role that's going to completely pigeonhole you on Zoom at home, or are you going to have the opportunity to work with others and expand your career trajectory and the responsibilities that you're able to take on over time.
Yeah,
so
good
look
point.
for support, look for flexibility, and look for opportunities.
Right. Just as much as they're asking you questions, you should also be asking them some of those key questions. And we talk about, before it was like this typical 9-to-5 job mindset where you felt like, oh, you had to be there during those certain hours. But what are the benefits of focusing on what gets done versus when it's getting done?
It's amazing. You're right. 9 to 5 is dead. And we have to stop focusing on time in the seat and what's actually getting done. The benefits are we're going to have more loyal employees. When employees are valued, not for amount of hours that they put in for, the 9 to 5 just employee, but for the value that they bring to the table as far as their contributions, and whether those contributions are, key moments that they have thinking about problems when they're in the shower in the morning or late at night. We need to start thinking about how team members can best contribute to the project, to the long-term goal of a company or a team, and less about the actual face-to-face time. And that's true on Zoom too. We have heard a lot of complaints from certain managers who are a little bit less forward-thinking, maybe, who expect to be able to ping somebody and get them right there face-to-face on Zoom.
Flexibility is so key these days, Debbie. Thanks for joining us. And you can get more from Debbie at villagewithany.com.